Sean. Fuck you. Jesus.
Look on the bright side. No security to worry about.
And on the not so bright side, the slightest misstep means you're effectively paced.
Shut up, Sean. Almost there, Desmond. Once you reach the top of the lit-up crane, you should be high enough to make the jump.
Should?
It'll be fine, don't worry.
Well, you might want to worry a little. I'm pretty sure she was high when she was running the numbers.
Sean!
A joke. It was a joke. Or was it?
So, you must be Desmond. Not exactly what I expected, but I guess your kind doesn't have many options these days.
Who are you?
Ask your father. Now give me that.
I don't think so.
Look, I'm not supposed to kill you, but the boss man didn't say anything about fucking you up. So you got to the counter.
So who the hell is Daniel Cross?
Believe it or not, he used to be an assassin. The assassin, the way I've heard it told, but it turned out he was a sleeper agent for Abstergo, programmed to infiltrate and destroy the organization.
How did he know you were there? We could be compromised.
They must have caught me snooping inside their network and sent Cross to see what we were after. If they were aware of our current location, we'd know. Though, I will say this. It doesn't bode very well for future expeditions.
I've set up some cameras topside. If anyone shows up, we'll see it.
I'd suggest you go see about finding a socket for that power source. Or we can return to Connor if you prefer. All the artifacts in the world won't mean a thing without the key.
When we thought we could be saved, we sought to face the sun's wrath and contain it. 4 towers would be built to pull her fury into this place and dispel it. But even with all we knew, with all we had, it would take too long. 1,000 years we could labor, and still the work would not be done. The first tower was never completed. The project abandoned. We moved on. But while we labored on other endeavors, a few returned. They thought to automate the process. Metal might finish what flesh could not. If we could not meet the sun's cruel embrace, perhaps we might rebuke it. Already we could generate the fields to protect us in times of strife. But these were small and simple things. To replicate them on a scale the size of a world, we lack the energy to make it so. Half the world, they said then. It is better than none at all. We tried. Again, we failed. A quarter, they asked. Even this we could not do. A sixth, an eighth, a 10th, they cried. The answer was still the same. Perhaps in time a city might be spared. It was time we did not have. So we moved on.
Wonder what's inside.
Only one way to find out.
Ah, Desmond, there you are. Can I ask a favour?
Maybe?
When this is all over, I'd like to try turning the dial back on the Animus. Like, all the way back. To the time of the first civilization.
You think it would work?
There was no real loss of fidelity when you visited Altair. Then again, that was about 1,000 years ago, and I'm looking at going back at least 70,000 more.
Sure, I'd be up for it. Be interesting to see what things were like back then.
Excellent. I think it would prove most enlightening. So this is how it started.
What are you up to?
Just brushing up on my American history. Well, I say history. They certainly teach you strange things in the States.
Like what?
Well, for all the talk of this being a revolutionary war, it was a civil one. Well, not that kind of civil, I mean... So this is how it started.
What are you up to?
Just brushing up on my American history. Well, I say history. They certainly teach you strange things in the States.
Like what?
Well, for all the talk of this being a revolutionary war, it was a civil one. Well, not that kind of civil. I mean, there was no America versus Britain. It was Brit on Brit action. And you can clearly see how the whole thing got started. One war gave birth to the other.
You mean the 7 Years' War?
Exactly. Seems the Crown overspent in its attempt to keep the French out, wound up with a great deal of debt. Believing that the colonists should help to shoulder the burden, new taxes were created. It was a reasonable request, even if Parliament was rather, well, undiplomatic about it.
Well, it's not really fair to tax people for a war they didn't want any part of.
What? Didn't want any part of? Did you not notice George Washington with Edward Braddock? He was right there in the middle of it. So here you have the Crown spending who knows how much money to secure a place for the colonists to thrive, and then, when they ask for a little bit of help... Right, look, think of it this way. King George and the colonists, they all go out to dinner, right? And when the bill comes, George asks for them to kick in and pay their share. Fair enough. Now keep in mind, he's been taking them out to dinner gratis for decades now. But the colonists, oh no, they insist they only had a glass of water and a side salad. Never mind the table's full of half-eaten food and empty bottles of wine. Now when the king points this out, what do the colonists do? Oh, they flip the table over and they storm out the restaurant. Probably intending to return later and burn it down.
You left out the part where the king pointed a gun at the colonists and asked them to cover dinner for everyone in the restaurant.
Right, yeah, interesting take. If he pulled out a gun, and I'm not sure he did, it would only have been after the 100th failed attempt at getting them to pay their fair share.
But how do you define someone's fair share?
Oh, well, with a war, apparently. I wonder how many other places like this exist.
There are dozens of them, all over the world.
And somehow no one's ever found one before us.
I don't think that's true.
Oh?
When I was at Abstergo, Vidic talked about silencing discoveries made by non-Templars. And I'm sure Abstergo has dug up plenty.
The things they must know.
Regretting throwing in with us?
No. Just looking forward to when we can finally trounce those bastards so I can dive into their archives.
Son, I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have lashed out like that. You have to understand, I've never been very good at this. Never mind that we live rather extraordinary lives.
Yeah, I kinda liked my ordinary one.
You can't escape who you are, Desmond.
So I've noticed.
Look, it's silly for us to go back and forth like this. I admit, I did a shitty job raising you. I apologize, I'm sorry. But it's important you understand it didn't come from a bad place. You're my son. I love you. I guess I was so busy trying to make sure nothing bad happened, I didn't consider the consequences. Truce.
I know everyone thinks I'm being silly, but I can't shake the feeling we're being watched.
We are being watched. By Juno. Or some version of her.
Do you think it's a recording? Or is she a ghost? Or something else? Is she talking to us the way Minerva talked to Ezio?
No clue. I mean, who knows what else they were working on down here? There's still so many rooms we don't have access to.
But do you think she's like literally down here, waiting somewhere, still alive?
Still alive? That's mental. That means she'd be at least 75, 80,000 years old? Oh, powerful, yeah, but not that powerful.
They came down here looking for a way to survive. Maybe they found one. Good luck, Desmond.
These are troubled times. The already uneasy alliance between the Crown and its subjects frays. And behind them both the Templars plot, pulling strings and moving pieces. History dictates they seek order through control. But how will they affect it here? Who supports them? And what conspiracies have they already spun?
Spare
All
a
these
moment.
things I must determine. Of course. For only
Have a
by
look.
knowing my enemy can I hope to stop it.
What is it?
The Xingbao, or rope dart if you prefer. One of the many plans given to us by Shao Kahn to...
Sorry.
We'll have to work on this.
Ratonhnhaké,
Yes, my friend.
what brings you here? Is the village all right?
For now,
What do you mean? What has happened?
men came, claiming we had to leave. They said that the land was being sold, and that the Confederacy had consented. We sent an envoy, but they would not listen.
You must refuse!
We cannot oppose the Sachem, but you're right as well. We cannot give up our home.
Do you have a name? Do you know who is responsible?
He is called William Johnson,
Where is Johnson now?
in Boston, making preparations for the sale.
Sale! This is theft!
Connor, take care. These men are powerful.
What would you have me do? I made a promise to my people.
If you insist upon this course of action, seek out Sam Adams in Boston. He'll be able to help. What have you done?
When my people go to war, a hatchet is buried into a post to signify its start. When the threat is ended, the hatchet is removed.
You could have used a tree.
and Philadelphia, the tea has been sent away. In Charleston, the tea has been seized by the town itself. But here, the consignees stand firm. So much the worse.
There you stand.
Shellfish, clams, mussels, prawns, crabs. Beautiful fighters while they last. Cast your eyes on expressing sincere condolences to the Brown family, Mr. Roberts would like to remind the city youth not to play near the manufactory building.
Sanctions and demonstrations won't suffice, Sam. We need to act, and I'm talking about more than a sternly worded letter.
I sympathize with your frustrations, Jesse. But surely you can understand my reluctance to kick the hornet's nest.
The tourist thing, no matter what we do.
Ah, Connor. Hello again. What brings you to Boston?
You.
Would you excuse us, fellows? Thank you. That conversation was about to turn unpleasant. Now, what can I do for you?
I was hoping you could help me locate William Johnson.
Of course. I'm headed to a meeting with some men who should be able to help. Why don't you come along? Ah, it's good to see the people finally taking a stand against injustice.
Says the man who owns a slave.
Ooh, sorry? I practice what I preach, my friend. She's not a slave, but a freed woman, at least on paper. Men's minds are not so easily turned. It's a tragedy that for all our progress, still we cling to such barbarism.
Then speak out against it.
We must focus first on defending our rights. When this is done, we'll have the luxury of addressing these other matters.
You speak as though your condition is equal to that of the slaves. It is not.
Tell that to my neighbor who was compelled to quarter British troops, or to my friend whose store was...
Hey! It's my home, no matter what you thieves called taxmen say! If there comes in Parliament who want to take my property, you tell them to sail across the pond and take it themselves!
It's not open for discussion now! Open this door or these men will break it down! Ah!
Ah, bollocks! We're coming in!
Ah! trust the mounting evidence is proof enough, Connor.
Continue on. I shall meet you at our destination.
Could use some support. Is that all you have?
Justice for once. I dare the governor to send more. You all right? I'm fine. It's not my first dance. For all their teeth and claws, these little foxes, they fight like puppies. Thank you, my friend. I'd buy you an ale, but I'm expected somewhere else.
What's he barking at? Can I